Well, 2025 is the year we're fighting back, and maybe we can save Warhammer 40K. You'll have to let me know if you're optimistic about this. I know Grums is very optimistic because he's seen the change in video games that a lot of gamers have done in 2024. They've made movements just based on their organizing and boycotting together. And now he's saying we can do similar with Warhammer 40K. I like his plan. I think it's pretty simple. Just be non-binary. It's B-U-Y. Don't buy these games while they are disrespecting you as the customer and disrespecting the lore. I personally will not buy another Warhammer 40K product until they start unblocking all the hundreds of accounts that they did disrespecting their customers after they changed the lore for the female Adeptus Custodes last year. And yes, and we can support alternatives as well. So hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get into this action plan. It's a lot of fun, guys. Love that you're here. Appreciate all the Warhammer 40K fans and science fiction fans here as well. And I am a Space Marine graphic novel writer. This is the Emerald Array. This is the Terran Imperium's elite Space Marine crew that's fighting evil bug monsters from outer space. A lot of fun action in this. Warhammer 40K tried to shut me down, saying they had a Space Marine trademark license, and they failed. They actually engaged in tortious interference to do so. They didn't email me. They emailed Fund My Comic to try to remove this. But Fund My Comic told them, you don't actually have a license for that, and there's no problem here because they wouldn't matter anyway because Space Marine's not even in the title. It's called the Emerald Array. And so grab this, guys. It's a 66-page graphic novel. We are making the alternative here. It's a lot of fun. The book's done. I'm very, very proud of our work here. It's classic, like 70s fare. If you like Jack Kirby's art and the old school comics, I'm really bringing it back. I love retro stylings, and that's kind of my vibe here. So check it out. It's in the description below. Thank you, guys, for supporting. Really appreciate you. It's done, so we are getting ready for the print files right now to get this going for everybody, and I'm excited, again, to bring all of this to you very, very soon. So 2024 marked a bad year for Warhammer 40K, as you know, with Games Workshop changing the lore virtue signaling for woke activists. But Mark Kern Grums believes there's still hope for the tabletop games and plans to restore the hobby. If you missed the controversy, they changed the Adeptus Custodes to add women to it when they were not there before. They always claimed that it was always that way. They lied on social media, and they blocked almost everybody who was critical of them on this fact. They doubled down on this in their the Tithe animated short by showing an actual weird transgendery looking woman in this, and it's been absolutely crazy ever since. Now, on top of that, they've added a bunch of Warhammer Fantasy crazy stuff. Warhammer Fantasy is far worse than Warhammer 40K, don't get me started. They've got a book out attacking Sargon of Akkad in the book, and they're actually adding gender ideology, changing the Stormcast Eternals. One of them is a they-them now in the Warhammer Fantasy setting. Absolutely crazy. So Mark Kern has a plan. He says, a modest plan to preserve the purity of Warhammer 40K. And he did so with some beautiful graphics on his Twitter thread here. He says, I know many 40K fans are disheartened and angered with the gaslighting female Custodes debacle, and now there is more and more pressure to make 40K female Space Marines and Emperors know what else. Games Workshop continues to entertain the destruction of their lore and the game to satisfy the mythical, non-existent modern audience, while spurning and even disparaging their core tabletop audience, who buys thousands of dollars worth of minis, codices, and supplements, calling them all sorts of nasty names. It's been very sad. I also know that you love the hobby, and many are loath to abandon it or unable to resist the plastic crack to do anything like a full boycott. You don't have to, but, I think you should. I will go further than him. Over the past year, we've run a successful campaign in video games to push back against the mind virus. We did it by voting with our wallets and being very vocal, which is kind of a full boycott. Now companies like Ubisoft are on the edge of folding, and the medium and small publishers are embracing gamer feedback and sentiment. So here's his thread. Games Workshop is a public company, which is very good to know. They're sensitive to their stock price and investor sentiment. They're also expected to deliver results for quarter after quarter, year after year. The single quarter shows a decline. It's a big headache for management. You must rally your time and activities to these quarters, which often have major releases to try to goose the numbers and so demand, which increases the stock price. Now, here's the problem short term with this. They've got the Amazon Prime Video show in development, which is going to bump up the futures pretty big. So we're going to have to actually kind of wait a long time on this. Now, if Henry Cavill does right on that show, it could go very well. But if they hurt in their miniatures and models departments, this does actually matter. And so all you have to do is not buy some stuff. Games Issue will also issue stock guidance, which is their prediction for sales and how they will do based off sales predictions. If they fail to meet their guidance, the stock market punishes them heavily, which is why you don't need an absolute boycott to win. You need them to underperform expectations, and that's all you need. That's true. This is exactly what happened with Star Wars Outlaws and Dragon Age the Veilguard. They still sold over 1 million copies, but they missed their internal targets. For a public company, underperforming, even when it's selling well, is enough to cause emergency panic. So what can you do with this info? All you need is 20%. Get them to underperform sales by 20%, and you have an immense voice in what they do and say and make. Even 15 and 10% is a lot of pressure. Absolutely true. That is make or break for a company is 20% for real. It's that tight with these. Get organized, get loud, find places like X to say what you feel. This changes about 40K and post them here. Find YouTubers who will cover it. That's me. This is what we did in video games, and it works. Proxy 20% of your army. Use Legos, use game minis, whatever. Instead of buying new units, proxy 20% of your intended Games Workshop instead. And don't buy any new purchases. So no new purchases. Every quarter, Games Workshop will release new exciting things that everyone will want to field on the table. I'm not saying don't field them, proxy them. Wait until the quarter is over before going out to buy the actual minis if you want them. That will throw off their quarterly projection. They will miss rent in shareholders' analogy. Be vocal on why you are doing this. That's the important part. If they do something about the lore for their modern audience, let them know you will not be buying. You will be proxying and delaying your purchases. Heck, if you bought the units, only bought half of what you intended, that's huge. And guys, especially with the Adeptus Custodes, once they start coming out with female miniatures, make sure never to purchase those. They're, of course, going to try to incentivize you to do so with gameplay elements. It's just don't do it. Get a website together, recommend to buy and when to proxy and to hold off. This is similar to Cabrutus Rambo's DEI Detected website and Steam group, except this time focused to a single company. That's it. That's the crux of it. You have the power. You people who play and buy the most stuff are the chuds, and you don't have to give up the entire game to let yourselves be heard. Gatekeep, vote with your wallets. And guys, and it's the same thing with the Black Library, right? There are so many good old books out there. You don't need the ones by these new modern authors. I've done multiple videos showing different authors and which ones are woke and how bad they are. There's some that are not woke. Maybe continue just to support them, and just you don't have to be a completionist. And that's hard for me, guys. I'm a big completionist. So when I get into a hobby, I want to buy everything and I want to have a giant collection. That is something that I am very, very guilty of doing. But with the Black Library, you can just like buy all the old Horus Heresy books, like by Dan Abnett and the like, and they're great. And you can just read those. There's plenty of material out there, and there's plenty of Warhammer-like material if you just like Space Marine stuff out there. Of course, there's my books, which I love to talk about. There's some other great authors out there like Richard Fox, Jay Allen, Nick Cole. Those are people you might want to check out as well, because there's a whole slew of wonderful, wonderful stories out there with this kind of just feel to it, which is great. So that's my advice right now. I'd go further than Grums. I'm not buying anything until they make that apology. I think they definitely should unblock all the loyal customers who have bought their games. I think it's messed up what they've done, and I think we should remain non-binary completely until then. But like he said, like Grums said, Grums is right that if we just throw them off by 20%, we are absolutely going to win the game here, and Games Workshop will be forced to make changes because they are a publicly traded company. Now, as has been talked about before, this company is mostly owned by BlackRock, and that's the main problem here. Obviously, BlackRock introduced DEI practices and caused some problems. You can see that their stocks are actually going up pretty well, and the reason behind that is obviously Henry Cavill's Amazon Prime production. That's a big deal to it. Now, if Cavill remains very, very faithful to things, that's going to do well. That's going to boost Games Workshop's profile. And in the meantime, before that all comes out, this is really where we have the time to affect the change. So this is the time to make sure we do stay organized and don't buy these things. 3D printer go burr, as they often say, the kids these days. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Are you boycotting Games Workshop? Love to hear from you. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out my Space Marine graphic novel. I wrote this for you guys. You guys are 100% going to love this. It's a lot of fun, and it'll be coming out very, very soon. It's in the description below. Thanks for the support, and we'll be back soon.